We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Debate issue dominates the US poll narrative. Kamala Harris bats for one more even as Donald rules out another showdown. Polls show Kamala Harris outperformed Trump in ABC debate. US imposes sanctions on suppliers to Pakistan's ballistic missile program, also includes China-based firms, says will continue to act against proliferation and associated procurement activities of concern. Joe Biden eyes foreign policy legacy as White House declares that the upcoming meeting with Quad leaders from Japan, India and Australia will be held in US President's hometown of Wilmington, Delaware on September 21st. Work at Boeing plant in Seattle said to be grounded as workers vote to strike after union rejects labor deal. Strike is set to commence from 700 GMT Friday. And on to the details now. US President Joe Biden is set to host the fourth in-person Quad Leaders Summit in his hometown, Wilmington, Delaware, on the 21st of September. The summit comes as Biden eyes his foreign policy legacy in his final months as a one-term president after dropping out of the 2024 US election and effectively handling the Democratic Party nomination to his Vice President Kamala Harris. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre said the president is looking forward to welcoming Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Prime Minister Kishida Fumio of Japan. According to White House press release, this will be President Biden's first time hosting foreign leaders in Wilmington as president, a reflection of his deep personal relationships with each of the Quad leaders and the importance of the Quad to all the four countries. The Quad Leaders Summit will focus on bolstering the strategic convergence on Indo-Pacific and delivering concrete benefits in health security, natural disaster response, maritime security, high-quality infrastructure, critical and emerging technology, climate and clean energy, and cybersecurity. The next Quad summit will be hosted by India, the White House said.
Beginning of this administration, President Biden made the decision to take the Quad to the leader level, and next weekend, President Biden will host the fourth in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Wilmington, Delaware. The President looks forward to welcoming Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of India, and the Prime Minister of Japan. This will be President Biden's first time hosting foreign leaders in Wilmington as president, a reflection of his deep personal relationships with each of the Quad leaders and the importance of the Quad to all of our countries.
Well, the U.S. State Department on Thursday imposed sanctions on suppliers to Pakistan's ballistic missile program. The sanctions also includes on China-based firms. Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said in a statement that the Beijing Research Institute of Automation for Machine Building Industry had worked with Pakistan to procure equipment for testing rocket motors for the Shaheen 3 and Abadil systems and potentially for larger systems. The sanctions also targeted firms alongside Pakistan-based innovative equipment and a Chinese national for knowingly transferring equipment under missile technology restrictions. Washington similarly targeted 3 China-based companies with sanctions in October 2023 for supplying missile applicable items to Pakistan. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer arrived in the US on Thursday for talks with US President Joe Biden on issues of mutual and global concern. The US President will host British Prime Minister at the White House on Friday. The leaders will have an in-depth discussion on a range of global issues of mutual interest, including continuing robust support to Ukraine, securing a hostage release and ceasefire deal to end the Gaza conflict, protecting international shipping in the Red Sea from Houthi threats, and advancing a free and open Indo-Pacific. Well, the Biden administration on Thursday imposed fresh sanctions on 16 Venezuelan officials. It comes in response to widespread voter fraud in the country's election that saw Maduro re-elected, which has been rejected by Washington as well as several European and Latin American nations. The sanctions include the judge and the prosecutor who authorized the arrest warrant for the opposition presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, who has since fled Venezuela and sought protection in Spain. In addition to Treasury's sanctions, the State Department is also imposing new visa restrictions on Maduro-aligned officials. Well, in response to the United States, Caracas rejected the sanctions imposed by Washington as a crime of aggression. A foreign ministry statement said that Venezuela rejects in the strongest terms the new crime of aggression committed by the government of the United States of America against Venezuela, seeking to ingratiate itself with a political class that has resorted to fascist and violent practices to overthrow, without success, the Bolivarian democracy. And Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez on Thursday met with Venezuelan presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez and her daughter Carolina at Moncloa Place. In a post on X, Sanchez said that Spain continues to work in favor of democracy, dialogue and the fundamental rights of the brotherly people of Venezuela. With Gonzalez taking refuge in Spain since Sunday, his supporters in Venezuela and beyond, along with the United States government, consider him the legitimate winner of July 28th presidential election. Following the July election, the Venezuelan opposition has published vote tallies and said that Gonzalez won a resounding victory, but the National Election Board declared Maduro the victor. And after astounding face-to-face presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in Philadelphia 2 nights ago, and Fox News offered to host another one, all eyes are there to see the possibility of another televised debate between the two. But the question is whether it will happen as differences persist between the two aspirants. Here's Akhilesh Suman's report on how the two aspirants see the evolving situation.
Confident after gaining a clear edge in Tuesday's presidential debate in Philadelphia, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris is yearning for another showdown with Donald Trump. Harris's confidence is also buoyed by the fact that many influential names associated with Donald Trump in the past have jumped the ship.
Over 200 people who worked for President George H.W. Bush, President George W. Bush, John McCain, and Mitt Romney have endorsed me for president. 2 nights ago, Donald Trump and I had our first debate. And I believe we owe it to the voters to have another debate.
Trump is putting up a brave face. He has already declared victory in the ABC News debate. Now, McDonald's has become an unlikely new battleground as Team Trump has demanded evidence to prove Harris's claim that she worked at the popular fast food chain while in college.
She worked at McDonald's and she was working so hard. There's only one problem. She didn't work at McDonald's. She's a liar. Liar. As everyone saw 2 nights ago, we had a monumental victory over Comrade Kamala Harris in the presidential debate. So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate.
Observers feel that Trump might have reservations confronting Harris again because the post-debate polls have put Harris on front foot. According to Reuters' Ipsos poll, Kamala Harris leads Republican Donald Trump 47% to 42% for November 5 polls. Nevertheless, the next pit stop in this high-octane presidential campaign is supposed to be on 1st of October when vice presidential running mates, Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Republican Senator J.D. Vance will square off against each other on CBS News. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Well, Spain will host a meeting on Friday, bringing together ministers from Muslim and European countries to push forward a 2-state solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The gathering will include members of the Arab Islamic Contact Group for Gaza, such as Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez will welcome the attendees at his residence before the discussions led by Foreign Minister José Manuel Albares take place in Madrid. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Joseph Borrell will also participate. The meeting aims to foster international engagement in Middle East peace efforts and build consensus around the two-state solution. This follows Spain's recognition in May of a Palestinian state alongside Ireland and Norway. And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited a uranium enrichment facility calling for the development of new centrifuges to increase weapons-grade material production, further advancing the country's nuclear arsenal. Kim's visit to the Nuclear Weapons Institute offered a rare look inside North Korea's banned nuclear program. He emphasized the importance of expanding the arsenal for both self-defense and preemptive strikes, citing escalating threats from the U.S. and its allies. Additionally, Kim oversaw the test of a new 600 mm multiple launch rocket system and guided a special forces drill. Meanwhile, North Korea condemned a recent US-led United Nations command meeting in Seoul, labeling it a war organization. Germany recently joined the command, committing to help defend South Korea in case of conflict. And South Korea has strongly condemned North Korea's unveiling of a uranium enrichment facility and Kim's vows to boost his country's nuclear capability.
North Korea's illegal development of nuclear weapons is a clear violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions and poses a serious threat to peace on the Korean Peninsula and the world. Under no circumstances will we or the international community never accept North Korea's possession of nuclear weapons, and North Korea must clearly recognize this.
And weather updates now from across the globe. Hurricane Francine weakened into a post-tropical cyclone on Thursday afternoon as it moved north across Mississippi, soaking the state and its neighbors in heavy rain after slamming Louisiana coast as a dangerous Category 2 hurricane, causing widespread power outages for hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses. Flood watches and wind advisories remain in effect for some areas in or around near the storm's path. Francine could bring 4 to 8 inches of rainfall across parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, and many more, with some areas getting more than 12 inches of rain. And hundreds of villagers in Myanmar waded or swam through chin-high waters, fleeing severe floods around the remote capital, Naypyidaw, on Friday as Vietnam began clearing up after Typhoon Yagi. At least 19 people were killed in Myanmar after heavy rains triggered floods in and around the capital of the Southeast Asian nation, with rescuers moving some of the 3,600 people displaced to safer areas on boats. Adverse weather brought on the Typhoon Yagi, the strongest storm to hit Asia this year, has killed more than 230 people in Vietnam and Thailand, and flood waters from swollen rivers have inundated cities in both the countries. Well, wildfires also burned dozens of mountain homes near Los Angeles slowed on Thursday with cooler temperatures, but authorities warned the blazes still threatened suburbs. According to the map we are showing you on the screen, there are around 3 areas where damage has been reported by the wildfires, driven by triple-digit heat, gusting winds and tinder dry vegetation, scorching over 44,000 hectares of land. The Bridge Fire, California's largest current wildfire, swept through communities in the San Gabriel Mountains. The blaze have destroyed over hundreds of houses in Mount Baldy and Wrightwood. And the Bolivian government invested in cloud seeding to help increase rainfall in the wildfire-hit region of Santa Cruz. Airplanes from the Bolivian Air Force dispersed silver iodide into the air to encourage cloud formation and precipitation to ease the wildfires that have ravaged over 3 million hectares of land so far. International brigades and fire experts have also arrived to support local firefighters. The South American country is on track for potentially a record year of fires. And 100 wooden-looking elephants based on actual Indian elephants are providing a surreal but much-required rendezvous with wildlife to New York City residents. Crafted by Indian artists, these elephants have been distributed throughout a New York City neighborhood to promote positive collaboration between man and animal.
This ain't the great Indian jungles from the Western Ghats. Instead, these life-size replicas are rather enthralling people in the city of New York. The Great Elephant Migration features elephant sculptures crafted by nearly 200 indigenous artists from throughout southern India. Based on actual individual Indian elephants, they range in size from baby to adult and can be touched by spectators. All have an ID nameplate.
Each of the elephants is based on a real wild elephant that lives in the tea and coffee plantations of South India. The idea is that if people in rural India are able to live with elephants, surely people in other parts of the world can live with smaller, less dangerous animals.
The effort is actually paying off. Passerby agree that the elephants remind them of the importance of other living beings that should matter to the humans.
We're hoping, and everybody's hoping, that with this exhibition it'll just stir a little within them to think about preservation and conservation, which is so very important to expose everybody here to it.
Yeah, it's, I hope the impact when people see this, it's, yes, to save the elephants, to be aware of the need to save them for many reasons. Not are they just beautiful animals, but there's a balance in nature that we as mankind disturb constantly.
The elephants are culled together from an indigenous invasive weed called lantana. Already, $500,000 has been generated from the sales. The proceeds are going to a non-governmental organization dedicated to conservation work. The elephants will remain in New York's meatpacking district until October 20th. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval meets Russian President Vladimir Putin ahead of BRICS summit beginning October 22nd. India's External Affairs Minister is in Geneva in Switzerland, where he shared his perspectives on global tectonic shifts. And PM Modi motivated para-athletes for their tremendous performances during an interaction with Indian Paralympic contingent in New Delhi.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Nipakshi Khurana, and moving on ahead of the BRICS summit in Kazan from October 22nd to 24th. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been meeting with diplomats and security officials from BRICS nations. International Security Advisor Ajit Doval conveyed a message from Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his meeting with Putin. A special report from Russia Today's Igor Zandov.
19th century palace on the southern coast of the Gulf of Finland. This venue is where the Russian President Vladimir Putin has been meeting with political, diplomatic and security heavyweights of some of the BRICS nations. He's sat together with representatives of Iran, India, China, South Africa and Brazil, as all those delegates were provided with a rather rare opportunity when they could talk to the Russian leader directly without any middlemen. The already chamber-like format then shrunk even further when the Russian president held one-on-one meetings with representatives of India, China and Iran. And when it comes to India, well, New Delhi has sent here a truly notable character because he is an intelligence veteran. He is sometimes even referred to as a spy master. National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, clearly enjoys the trust of the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, who has sent him here, showing that he has no doubts that his man is well versed in the art of diplomacy too.
I have come here on the direction of Prime Minister Modi, who has conveyed his highest regards to you. His visit to Moscow was greatly successful and he was highly satisfied with the visit. and he has gone back with some very pleasant memories.
What they discussed behind closed doors will remain a mystery for the public, at least for now. But what was said on camera is basically Vladimir Putin has invited the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit the BRICS, the major BRICS summit later in October, and to talk to him one-on-one. As for Beijing, well, it deployed here its top diplomat whose tete-a-tete meeting with Vladimir Putin went on for over an hour.
Relations of comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation between Russia and China have been of a mutually beneficial and equal nature for many, many years. And on the 2nd October, we will celebrate the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between our states. Russia and China are jointly defending the principles of a just democratic order based on international law, sovereignty, and equality.
And by the way, the Chinese foreign minister has confirmed that the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, will be visiting and attending the big BRICS summit, which is also hosted by Russia next month already in Kazan. Representatives from dozens of nations, more than 20 countries, participated in this BRICS security event, and a big emphasis was made on the participation of the countries from the global south. More than 30 countries have already expressed willingness to participate in the life of this alliance in one way or form. Some applied to join them. This year alone, several countries joined officially as full members. They became full members of BRICS. The founding members, the so-called maybe founding fathers of BRICS, they have been adamant from the very get-go that BRICS is not something basically BRICS is not an enemy to the West. BRICS is not an enemy to NATO and other alliances, because it is an alliance of a very different sort. It is not like the EU, it is not like NATO, it has a very different mission statement, and that it is simply an alternative, and well, an alternative that is growing very popular.
And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Geneva and in Switzerland, where he shared his perspectives on global tectonic shifts at the Geneva Center for Security Policy. He thanked Ambassador John David Levitt and Ambassador Thomas Greminger for hosting him. The minister also met UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk. He shared India's perspectives on the global human rights situation and how challenges are best addressed. Dr. S. Jaishankar also met Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros. Two leaders discussed cooperation in WHO, including on traditional medicine and public health. At last, Dr. Jaishankar shared some moments with Indian diaspora and friends of India in Geneva. And the Indira Gandhi National Centre for Arts released a book on Thursday on the coins of the Gupta age. The book, titled Treasures of the Gupta Empire, written by Sanjeev Kumar, has research on the gold and silver coins of the 3rd to 6th century empire of the Gupta dynasty in India. The book examines the history of emperors Chandragupta I, Skandagupta, Samudragupta and Chandragupta II in detail, whose reign is termed as the Gold Age of ancient India. And in business news, Boeing's U.S. West Coast factory workers will walk off the job after 96% voted on Thursday in favor of a strike, halting production of strongest-selling jet amid chronic output delays and increasing debt. The workers' first strike since 2008 will start at midnight Pacific time on Friday. At least 2/3 of the unionized workers had to vote in favor of a strike under complicated rules set by the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Early on Wednesday, Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg sent a letter to workers urging them to approve the deal, which included a general wage increase of 25%, a $3,000 signing bonus, and a pledge to build Boeing's next commercial jet in the Seattle area. And on to some sports news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with India's Paralympic contingent on Thursday at his residence in New Delhi. The Prime Minister congratulated the Indian para team for their tremendous performances at the Paris Paralympics. Team India returned with a rich medal haul, bagging 29 medals, which includes 7 gold, 9 silver and 13 bronze medals. The contingent returned on Tuesday, September 10th, and first met PM Modi and then had a felicitation ceremony in New Delhi.
उनकी तरफ देखने का दृष्टिकोण बदले। वे उनके प्रति सम्मान के भाव से देखे, दया भाव से नहीं, वो हमें मंजूर नहीं है। दया भाव नहीं चाहिए, सम्मान से देखे, मैं तुमसे कम नहीं हूं। ये मिजाज मुझे देश में पैदा करना है।
Well, PM Modi asked the athletes to share their experience of Paris Paralympics, and many did gladly. Listen in.
नमस्ते सर, मेरा नाम सुमित अंतिल है और मैं बैक टू बैक सेकंड गोल्ड मेडल है सर मेरा। मेरे को अभी भी याद है सर, जब टोक्यो में गोल्ड लेके आए तो आपने प्रॉमिस लिया था कि ऐसे ऐसे 2 गोल्ड और चाहिए मेरे को। तो ये दूसरा सर आपके लिए है, क्योंकि उसके बाद में जैसे जब पैरालंपिक से पहले हम काफ़ी नर्वस थे, क्योंकि मैं आर्टिकल्स पढ़ रहा था कि हर तरफ मोस्ट फेवरेट एथलीट जो गोल्ड मेडल को डिफेंड करेगा, तो कुछ नाम आ रहे थे सर, उसमें मेरा भी नाम था। बट जब 20 अगस्त को आपसे बात हुई तो वही पल याद आ गया सर टोक्यो वाले, कि अब की बार फिर से अच्छा करना है।
And before we wrap up, here are some heart-warming visuals of a sweet gesture where Paralympians are giving gifts to Prime Minister Narendra Modi during their interaction with the PM at his residence. The gifts also symbolize the importance of this meeting for the para-athletes, who say that this is a unique moment of their career. Take a look. Heartwarming visuals there. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.